you cannot believe what they did here. They served us Kool-Aid. Try to call it something else. They served us Kool-Aid. I said, nah, yo, stop.
Oh my God, what?
I said, stop playing. She said, no, for real. Happy Juneteenth, and served everybody Kool-Aid.
Our story is not pain. Our story is not struggle. Our story is new growth. This is BossLocks. Join us as we speak to Black leaders from around the world to understand the range of Blackness and hear their stories of new growth. Welcome to the show.
Walter, where are you? You need to call me back. There are things to discuss.
What is freedom? How do we celebrate it? And who owns Juneteenth? Juneteenth was made a federal holiday in 2021, and that's honestly a win. But there's room for growth. Because now that it's a national holiday, that opens up a window for opportunity for commercialization to happen. And those with resources are not hesitating. I mean, just look at Walmart, who dropped the Juneteenth ice cream flavor under the Great Value brand. And yeah, disrespectful, but what really worried me was learning that they filed a trademark to own the symbol for Juneteenth. This holiday has become the latest part of our culture that's up for exploitation, and we have to dig in now before we wake up and this holiday is no longer ours. I was sharing my thoughts on Juneteenth being in the brand awareness stage with Chris Ward Jr., and he actually has a theory on how we can use storytelling and content to move past this phase and ensure that Juneteenth is actually owned by the Black community. It caught me off guard, but he actually made a lot of good points. Here's what he had to say. 2021 summer, President Biden is like, yeah, we're making this a thing. It's been adopted everywhere. Everyone recognizes it. But you know what's interesting about it is that it's not like all the way there yet. Like it's like a kind of federal holiday. Like the 4th of July holiday, government employees, they get paid time off. Everyone gets a day off. Juneteenth, it's new. Some companies are forgetting it's a thing. In fact, well, I won't mention that, but I've heard stories about some people showing up to work and other people not, thinking like, oh, I thought we had the day off. Nah, everyone's confused. Like, this is for real. I've heard this story.
I'm taking off today, man.
Yeah,
I don't know about you. No.
For real. A lot of Black people just taking PTO, just submitting the PTO on that day. But what I thought was interesting as I was looking into why it's not yet a day where everyone gets a day off, I started to learn more about government employees and federal holidays. And I learned that there's actual funding set up to pay for the paid time off for government employees. Like for me, working in a private company, it's just like, oh yeah, just get paid anyways. Doesn't seem like a big deal. But for governments, there's actual specific budgets for this, and it comes from taxpayer dollars. But there are some states, like it's a federal holiday across the nation, but at a local level, each state, each city gets to determine how they treat certain holidays. So like there's a few states where senators are like, yeah, we're not making this a thing yet. And matter of fact, Senator Joey Hensley literally said that when the bill came up for discussion during a February committee hearing, he said that he felt like we're putting the cart before the horse to make a holiday people don't know about. Like he literally asked people, it's like, oh, do you know anything about this? And a lot of people said no. I mean, who he's asking, I don't know. But just the fact that he's like, not that many people know about it. Let's not do this. He said we need to educate people first and then make a holiday if we need to. I want to stop there. What are your thoughts on all this?
I'm just going to shrug my shoulders. Like, there are topics we've been talking about for 20, 30 years, and education is always the first detail that people run to. Oh, we need more education. We need more education. And so sometimes that becomes an excuse not to put action towards something that can change and shift and become organic, right? When we're talking about a holiday, imagine if we just talked about the 4th of July. Imagine if the military and the founding fathers say, hey, we need to learn more about our approach on Independence Day before we can make it a federal holiday. That will never happen. It's like, that will never happen because there's a message behind each holiday, right? Because you are educated the more you interact with a certain experience, right? We pass down stories, and those stories are passed down to kids and other kids and other kids in other neighborhoods, and we are educated through the stories that we hear. And that's just an interesting, very interesting way to say I don't want to make this an holiday, right? We need more education. Come on, bro.
Yeah.
Don't be that guy.
Don't be that guy. It's funny. As you're speaking, I was reminded about when I was a kid, when it came time for birthday parties, it's like, I didn't care whose party it was. Like, if I don't like you, hey, you got cake? You got games? All right, I'll be there. I didn't need to, get educated on this person and learn their history. I was like, oh, celebration, let's do it. Let's do it.
Hey, that's how you learn. How do you think I learned how to bachata? Right. You go to somebody that never been to a party there before. They got bachata music playing, and you start looking at the steps. Like, I'm gonna try this. I may be bad. I may be bad at it at first, but I'm gonna try it, and then you get the hang of it, and you can't wait for the next party.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same concept with holidays that are meant to be here. Juneteenth, no one knows about it because they haven't experienced what the story is all about and where it's taking us. And so when you talked about brand awareness, right, in marketing terms, brand awareness is like, a great example is if someone says, hey, do you want soda? What's the first maybe two companies that you think of?
Pepsi and Coca-Cola.
There you go. Right. And those stories were passed down from when they were first establishing their brand awareness. And now Pepsi and Coca-Cola is a household name.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I need a Coke. You don't even say soda anymore. Can I get a Coke?
Facts.
Even if you're talking about other sodas. Hey, can I get a Coke?
Facts.
Right. And Juneteenth needs that opportunity to be able to share its stories and create experiences for this generation, so the next generation has confidence in what it's all about, and they can celebrate it in a way that is positive and not necessarily negative.
Yeah, I love your approach on this topic. I feel a lot of people have a lot of takes around Juneteenth, many things with the Black culture and just bringing it up, raising awareness. And I just like your approach to this, your thoughts on how we can kind of move past this brand awareness stage and into this place where we can ensure that Juneteenth is owned by the Black community. And your thoughts are doing this through content and storytelling, which seems wild. It seems crazy. Like, what? Okay, chill, man. Go take your TikTok conversation somewhere else. But no, I think you actually have a really good point. Like, why do you think storytelling is so important to just increase the awareness, acknowledgement, and respect for Juneteenth?
A couple of aspects of storytelling and its importance to the community, right? Stories are sticky, right? Stories are like s'mores, or is like your favorite dessert. Once you have that great experience, you are reminded to go back to it over and over and over again, even if you don't want to, because you see, you need to get in the gym, but that you look at that pie and you're like, oh my goodness, right? So stories have a stickiness factor to it. Stories also help bridge the gap between education level. It doesn't require for you to have a college vocabulary. It doesn't require for you to have a PhD vocabulary to tell stories. Kids tell stories all the time. Adults, teachers, educators, professionals, we tell stories every day. Now, some are visual storytelling, which helps because some of us cannot express how we feel inside through words alone. Sometimes we have this kinesthetic learning. So kinesthetic storytellers, we show people the story, right? And then there are those who have the gift of gab, where they're able to paint pictures with words. And so storytelling allows every group to participate and invest in the holiday, just like our content, right? When we create content for the people, or we create content that we're passionate about, that we really care about, you and I may may talk about the same topic, but because our storytelling element is different from each other, we resonate with different type of people, which then which actually makes our industry even stronger, because now you have different perspectives on the same topic, and now the community is being rewarded with our worldview on that topic. And the same thing goes for Juneteenth. It needs the stories from everyone, including the kids, including the grandparents, to be able to talk about where Juneteenth is taking us. Not necessarily keeping us in the past, but where it's taken us. And so that's my question for you. Where do you think the experience should take us, and how should we look at it when it comes to future opportunities to build community together?
That's a good question. Really good one, because it is important to look at the past. I myself need to learn more about Juneteenth. I only know that it symbolizes the day where the last enslaved people were made free, or at least documented, because we know how people do. But it's not just that. We can't just stop and look at the past. We have to just learn from it and kind of dictate how to determine how we're going to move forward. And when I think of moving forward, it would be kind of ignorant for me to just think about the Black community, because we already have people coming in to, try and exploit the holiday, take ownership of it. We see the Conagra Food Group, I believe it is, who actually filed a trademark for the mark of Juneteenth. That's like, I'm claiming ownership over this. This is now mine. You can celebrate, you can enjoy it, but I own this. And that's kind of terrifying, right? It's like, okay, something that's ours is literally up for grabs. And if it was approved, there's nothing we could really do about it outside of just protest and advocate. Luckily they pulled it, but just makes me think, okay, that's one thing that we've seen. What else can happen? So in addition to like worrying about the dangers, I also have to think about, okay, how are other people going to interact? It's a federal holiday, no longer just the Black holiday. It's a federal holiday. Everybody in America can celebrate it, and they're also interested, and not just from an appropriation, standpoint. They're not trying to gentrify it or anything, but a lot of people really do want to acknowledge and support and appreciate not only what happened, but just support the Black community. So like, how do we want them to celebrate this holiday? These are some of the questions I'm asking now, but I feel like we first need to really figure out, where are we as a culture, as a community? How do we want to celebrate it? Like, what do we want to do? What do we want it to look like? All these different things. So yeah, I don't know, but I'm trying to find out.
You're hitting some great points right now, right? You said what it feels like, what it looks like, and what it sounds like. And that shapes how people will celebrate it, who are not a part of the main community, but want to be a part of the culture and the community itself, right? So I was getting my suit measurements just recently, right? Preparing for a wedding. And I was speaking to the young lady, amazing young lady into fashion, wants to learn the ins and outs. She's worked every single job that you can think of so that she can run her business in an efficient way, and super proud of what she's doing at such a young age. And she said, I was really excited to have Juneteenth off, and we didn't have it, which sucks, because, I wanted to be able to kind of celebrate with people, and build memories and experiences, right? So I thought that was cool. But she was like, you cannot believe what they did here. They served us Kool-Aid. Tried to call it something else. They served us Kool-Aid. I said, nah, yo, stop.
Oh, God, what?
I said, stop playing. She said, no, for real. Happy Juneteenth, and served everybody Kool-Aid. Right? And that's what I mean by, it's important for us to be storytellers at every level. Kids, teenagers, young adults, the older generation. We have to tell the stories that matter, and create the culture and the experiences for this holiday, or everybody's going to be giving us Kool-Aid everywhere we go, just because they think that's the narrative about Black people, how to celebrate Black people. And do some people know that's not how you celebrate Black people? Of course. Right? Of course. And some people may do it intentionally, right? But then there are others who are just, they hear what they hear, right? They hear their stories on the other side of the coin, and they think that this is what Black people like and this is what Black people do. So what the brand feels like, what the brand sounds like, what the brand looks like is very, very key, because the brand can sound like kids playing on the playground for the first time and after seeing their friends for the first time after the pandemic. That's a moment, right? How many kids didn't see their friends for a year and a half, 2 years, and when they saw them, they ran and cried and played like it was their last, like it was the last day they would ever play again, right? Maybe it looks like that. Maybe it sounds like hearing a song from the OJs or Stevie Wonder for the first time. The Gap Band for the first time, hearing them, or maybe it's like hearing Kendrick for the first time, right? We can shape it with the stories we tell, as long as we own those stories. And so if you want to create brand awareness around a holiday, we have to create the story. We have to tell the stories, share the stories, show the stories through our content, through our collaboration. And then we have to build up brand equity, because without brand equity, there's no true influence. You're just another product and service that someone else can take for themselves.
So for people who, maybe they don't talk about branding all day or content creation all day, what is brand equity? We hear that word equity come up a lot, when it comes to wealth, ownership, and then we also hear it oftentimes associated with equality. When you're thinking about the brand of Juneteenth and brand equity, can you break down what that means for us?
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, right? Someone that has equity has what?
Ownership.
Ownership. They have stake in whatever that product, service may be. Most people, when they talk about equity, talk about your house, right? Right. How much equity do you have in your home? How much equity do you build with ownership and generational wealth? Same thing goes with a brand and a product. If we don't put into Juneteenth what it needs, the equity is low, and so you can't get funding. There's no influence, right? When I think of brand equity, it's like, how much influence am I creating, or how much impact I'm creating because I'm out there known as in a certain way, right? So question is this: when you think of, and I can't believe I'm going to say this, I sound like one of those movie stars. When you think of Chris Ward Jr., what's the first thoughts that come to mind?
Chris Ward Jr. The first thought is, okay, named after his father as well. So am I. My father named me the second, though. And the second thought is, okay, Chris, he's someone who has figured out who he is, and more importantly, knows how to communicate that with the world. And in doing so, he's like, okay, I can help other people with that as well. So he's helping people not only find their story, tell their story, but truly understand the impact and the power behind that story as well. Kind of getting rid of the clouds of confusion so you can see where you're going.
Now look at that. That is your perception of me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that valuable to you? What I bring to the table?
Yeah.
Is that a premium to you or someone else? A premium value that's brought to the table?
Absolutely.
So brand equity is important because it is the perception of the value the brand brings to the table or into the environment. So if Juneteenth is not seen as valuable, its brand is not seen as valuable, it's not seen as bringing a premium value to the environment and to the American experience, then it doesn't have great brand equity. It doesn't have that same impact, because we need people to talk about Juneteenth the way that they talk about other holidays that are important to the other communities that are out there.
Mm-hmm.
So when we talk about branding, it's not necessarily to make money. It's the perception. Perception is very important for a lot of people. A brand's perception creates a premium value. So when younger, like my son, if he sees a Gucci shirt, he's like, it doesn't matter how ugly it is. He's like, man, that's fly. That's high fashion. I love that. Nah, it's an ugly shirt, bro.
Yeah. Yeah. We need to have a serious talk
Right?
about high fashion.
Right? Like high fashion. No, that's an ugly shirt. And what's crazy is he has a great eye for fashion, but because of the perception of having a Gucci shirt or the perception of having what they see as high class premium brands, that perception changes the value of how someone sees it and interacts with it. Right now, Juneteenth doesn't have much brand equity, and it needs to build up. And the way that you do that is with the stories. The stories is the way that you build it up, and it allows it to travel. Because that's the world we live in today. How easy is it for your message, your story to travel to others without it diluting? I'm guessing that's the right word to say. Diluting the value or the message or the potency of the holiday. And if you can do that effectively, then it's here to stay. If you can't do that, then you'll get more Juneteenth ice cream, and Juneteenth fireworks, and all that stuff.
Right. Juneteenth fireworks sounds fire, actually.
It does. I was thinking I'd be in the trademark on that one. That one would be tight.
Let's follow that one real quick. Get the super
Juneteenth
fist.
fireworks for sure. I don't know about the red velvet ice cream. Y'all was wild for that one. I just want to let y'all know. Y'all know if y'all seeing this right now, y'all was out of pocket for that. Out of pocket. Come on, man.
Yeah, and for those of them who are like, I kind of want to try it. There's actually Black-owned ice cream brands that have that flavor, so we don't have to give in. We don't have to play these games. We don't have to dance for anybody. Yeah, I cannot. I still can't believe they really came out with that. I know what it was like too. I bet that person was in there like talking to the Black employees. So, what's your favorite cake? Have you ever heard of a red velvet cake? Like, come on.
Yeah. Like, come on, bro. Like, come on, man. What you doing out here? That's a better way of explaining what brand equity is really all about. And people don't think to build it or invest in it. They think, let me just get all the followers that I can. And let me make it look like I'm doing big things instead of actually creating value so that when you're not around, people talk about you in a certain way. And we talk about this all the time, right? Like, I'm not looking to get clients, but the clients find me.
That's a power brand.
It's not
equity.
to say that like it's not a focus of mine. It is, but it's not the end of the world. I want to create a place where what I present out there, my brand and what it's all about, is helping people. It's helping people fill in the gaps, right? Fill in the gaps. And Juneteenth needs to be able to do that for the community as well. What gaps does it fill, right? Because what does the 4th of July do for people? What does it remind them?
It just symbolizes freedom, independence, leaving the control from the UK. For a lot of people, something that I'm starting to pay more attention to now is a day just for a lot of people who immigrated to the country. It's a great to celebrate their immigration day. I mean, of course, they have their anniversary, but truly just be like, yo, we're here. We made it. And that's kind of a beautiful thing, too. So I think freedom, I think it represents the sacrifices that a lot of people made, represents, I guess, independence. And it's interesting because, the more you learn about Juneteenth, the more you realize that it's independence for some. And I think that scares a lot of people and kind of threatens this picture that they built in their minds. But yeah, I think for most people, for some people, it represents freedom, self-governance, and just liberty, being liberated.
Look how interesting that answer was. It went from the freedom of America, right, to then those who immigrated here, and it reminds them of the independence that they have, the freedom that they have here. It's kind of like a reminder, right? So the story's already taking a different turn. For some, it's about military service and those who fight for our freedom. If there's a connection, emotional connection to the military and the family, and usually they have people in their family that served, right? So that story is told, which creates a strong bond between the holiday and the people. Then you have those who or immigrants that came over, became citizens. Maybe life wasn't the best back. Maybe it was best. We don't know. But whatever it is, they're here and celebrate freedom the way that America does.
Right.
And then there are those who don't even see the holiday in that way. And they just say, hey, it's a great time that all of us, our family, can get together and just see each other. Regardless of the reason why they celebrate, it makes the holiday stronger. It makes it stronger because of those stories. That's what I mean by why storytelling is so effective, right? It does the marketing for you. It does the sales for you. It does the vision casting for you. It does the modern, you know how some people want to modernize their brand? The new stories do that for you. Why do you think? I know we're going to go into this. It's supposed to be about Juneteenth, but let's just talk about colleges and the big time corporations that are out there and the companies that people work for.
Mm-hmm.
Why do they want to work for these amazing big companies? What's the main reason for them wanting to work there?
They want that experience. They want to, saying you worked at these companies, that raises your profile up, it helps your brand grow a bit, saying you work for Google is like, oh, you're the smartest person or most creative person that ever existed.
Yeah, raising the profile, right? Because you work at these places. But before these places could have that status and that brand equity in that space, they leveraged the stories of people who work there. Mm. Without those stories, there is no company. Because without companies, without people, there's no companies.
Thanks.
So it's the same detail for a holiday. Without the people and the stories from the people that see it going in a positive direction and forwarding it in a way that creates a sense of great identity, respectful experiences and intentions, and allowing it to grow into something stronger than what it is today, that is what the stories will do. It will help people embrace the holiday, just like people embrace new companies. Once the stories come out of this person doing this, and they want to be a part of that. They want to be a part of the at least a chapter, a sentence in one of those stories. And if you can just have a little piece to invest and share, it goes a long way. Mm-hmm. It goes a very, very long way. And so I may be saying brand awareness. We may be saying brand awareness, brand equity, but really what we're saying is if you want the value of this holiday to increase so that people perceive it in a way that it should be perceived and treat it in a way it should be treated, we need to fill it up with stories that are so moving, so connected, and progressing us forward that the next generation says, hey, we're going to keep pushing. We're going to keep pushing this so that it is exactly what those people before us talked about.
Yeah, that's so key. And I'm thinking about it, every major holiday that's like truly strong stands the test of time and has a strong story behind it. Even holidays where the story is really like, okay, hold up, do we actually want to celebrate it? It has a strong story behind it. Like, I'm gonna go ahead and call it out. Thanksgiving, we gotta revisit that one. Love that it's a time off. Love we could all come together, but we definitely gotta revisit that. But it does have a very strong story behind it. Christmas, probably the most ultimate story. It's like a double story. We got Santa Claus, we got Jesus. It's like boom. It's like they really came through with that story time there. So we really got to like really take a look at Juneteenth. We already know the importance, but how can we just really, like you said, just increase the awareness, show the value. I'm thinking like we got to bring some like Marvel energy to Juneteenth, like not to, just reduce the importance of it to make it entertaining or something like that. But I think there's a lot of potential there and a lot of really amazing things that happen. Like just like the one story I know about is Major General Gordon Granger, who was the person who actually arrived to Galveston, Texas to announce the end of the Civil War and announce the end of slavery. This is like 2 years after the Civil War had ended. 2 years after slavery was already supposed to be over, but I know there's a whole story there, like showing up to the slave plantation, like, yeah, your time's up. Like, what happened? What went down when during that announcement. I know they didn't just like, okay, that's cool. Everyone go home now. Have a great time. Here's a gift bag. Thanks for what you do. I know it didn't happen
Appreciate
like that.
you.
Right. Yeah. Come back soon.
Mm-hmm.
There's none of that. So like what really happened? There's a lot of things I think just the general public, myself, a lot of people don't know about. And it's time to really put our foot in the storytelling.
I couldn't have said it any better. I mean, you mentioned names of the past, and then who knows, somebody could be watching this and listening to this right now, and idea sparks just because we're doing our part.
Thanks. Speaking of sparking ideas, I think best way to close this out is kind of creating a challenge. The Juneteenth challenge is to come up with the stories for Juneteenth. I'm talking to content creators, I'm talking to non-content creators. Everyone has a role to play in this because there's a lot of things that we need to determine. We really need a true blueprint, a doctrine on how Juneteenth is going to be respected, celebrated, and how to ensure that we still maintain complete ownership of it. Because everyone wants a piece of it. Like I really want everyone to, come together, figure out like what food is going to be served, when Kool-Aid and I won't even mention that. I was going to try to put a joke on what you said earlier, but yeah, scratch that. I don't even touch it. We don't need to talk about Kool-Aid unless you want to serve Kool-Aid.
Hot, bro. She was hot. She looked at me like I would.
Yo, that's wild. I still can't believe that's really serving Kool-Aid. Like you see that all the time in February. Like schools will serve mac and cheese, fried chicken, and Kool-Aid and watermelon. It's like, I mean, I enjoy some of these foods, but it's kind of weird. She was kind of pandering. But yeah, this is really important because like some other brands you may have heard of, Uncle Ben's, Famous Amos, Mrs. Butterworth, or Aunt Jemima, like black faces not owned by black people. Famous Amos and Uncle Ben started off owned by black people. They're not anymore. Famous Amos cannot use his name on any other products. We don't want that for Juneteenth. So I really want to hear from y'all. What does Juneteenth mean to you? How do you want it to be celebrated? And what is the impact it's going to have on our future as a community, as global citizens, as black people?
Yeah. And if you're not black, that's okay too. If you want to be a part of the culture and still celebrate it, what's your idea? As long as it doesn't have Kool-Aid in it, we cool, man. We cool. As long as it doesn't have Kool-Aid in it, I'm cool.
Matter of fact, if you're not black, you don't need to recommend any food or beverages.
Yeah. Just show up, man. Just show up and just show up and just enjoy, man. And honestly, I know we're joking with that, but some of the best experiences come from just showing up. Like I said earlier, I didn't know how to bachata until I went to a party where it was part of the culture, and I just embraced it.
Invited to it, right?
Yeah, I loved it, man. It was a blast. So every Thursday night, I was out at the club, bachata. I was doing my thing, right? And I would have never had that experience if I wasn't open to learning, open to knowing, and open to being wrong. That is a very, very big piece of it, aspect of it. Being a human being is also knowing that you can be wrong and embracing it and saying, hey, no, my bad. I had no idea. I thought it was this way. I learned something today, and you appreciate it more. So, yeah. Can't wait to hear it.
Where can people find you, Chris?
You can find me not every Tuesday, but certain Tuesdays with Walter on the growth. As you can see, I love New Growth. Make sure you get that shirt too. That shirt is popping right there. I love it. Yeah, I gotta make sure I get one of those. Every Tuesday or Tuesdays that I'm there on LinkedIn, Audio Rooms with Walter. You can also find me at Chris Ward Jr. TikTok, of course, Instagram if you're still over there, and Christopher Ward Jr. here on LinkedIn. So, I can't wait to connect and resonate with your stories. If you're willing to share with me, I'm cool. I'm willing to listen as much as I can and vibe. So, where can they find you, Walter?
If you're listening to this right now, tuning into right now, just make sure you stay tuned to wherever you're checking this out. BossLocks all over the place. social media, but there's something new as well. There's a lot of places you could be, right? Like so many places, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Snapchat. It's like every month there's a new place. It's like, oh, you got to be here. You got to be here. I am everywhere, but you don't need to catch me everywhere. Sometimes I'm only over here. Sometimes I'm only on LinkedIn. Sometimes I'm only on Instagram. Sometimes I'm only right here on the podcast. The best way to make sure you're engaged is just joining the text community. That's texting podcast to 914-353-4176, because then you won't miss anything. You'll know exactly where I am. So yeah, go ahead, follow me wherever you are right now. Definitely, because you'll see me again. But go ahead, text podcast 914-353-4176. Also, I know you might be by yourself, but go ahead and give me a round of applause, because I actually got that number all the way down. I don't learn phone numbers that quickly. Like, the process to learn my grandma's phone number when I was younger took a long time. I'm still trying to learn my girlfriend's number. I almost got it. All right. Appreciate y'all tuning in. Frizz, thank you for joining me. Love that you came through to share this with us. Yeah, I can't wait for what's next. Matter of fact, if you're still listening, text your ideas to that number, 914-353-4176. Go ahead and text it right there. I want to hear what you got to say. Peace.